Alright, hello everyone, it is me, Jay Burns, and welcome to part 3 of how to loom my pencil pouch for my back to school series. So if you have not watched part 1 or part 2, then what are you doing here? Go watch those parts first. And a link to both parts will be in the description, so if you're looking for part 2, then there will be a link. There will also be a link to my back to school playlist, so you can see some other things you could make Rainbow Loom for school. But anyway, here in part 3 I'm going to show you how to kind of stitch together both sides or ends of your dragon scale sheet, and also if you're going to be making your pencil pouch for your binder, I will show you how to customize your pencil pouch for your binder. So yeah, see you in the tutorial.
Alright, so here's just a small clip for people who are making their pencil pouch for their binder. If you're going to be making your pencil pouch for your binder, you will have these 4 rubber bands here. And well, your pencil pouch is most likely going to be only long enough to fit across 2 different little ring thingies. On my binder I have 3 here, but your pencil pouch will most likely only be able to fit across 2. And also, make sure this rubber band and your hook are still together and not coming off. And what you're going to do is you're going to figure out where you're going to place 4 more of these rubber bands like this. To figure out where to put the next 4 of these crazy just sitting there rubber bands, you're going to put these 4 rubber bands on one of the rings, so these rings should be open. Then you're going to kind of just sit your dragon scale on the second rings and kind of just move it around a little bit until it looks like the rings are sticking through some rubber bands. So mine are sticking through this little thing here. And once you have something like this, here, let me try to move my loom, or my binder. Once you have something like this here, or once you have found a spot where you like this thing here, you're going to count how many of these little spaces in between the first layer bands and the second layer bands. So it kind of looks like there's little holes in between these things, or in between these layers. That's what you're going to count to figure out where you need to put the next 4 of these bands. Oh, wait, it's a little too low. There we go. And you're going to count starting from the top. Yes, so starting from the top. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So my little binder ring is sticking through the 14th little loophole thing on the side of my dragon scale sheet. So you might want to write that number down somewhere, or just remember this little whole segment where the rings are sticking out, because that is where you're going to place these next 4 bands. Alright, so to get this little, or well, this huge sheet of dragon scale stitched together so that you can have your pencil pouch, you're going to need your loom, some holding it together rubber bands, your sheet of dragon scale with this last rubber band still on your hook, and well, that's pretty much it. So to stitch this thing together, we're going to place a double single chain going down this middle pin bar on our loom. And to do this, you're going to get two holding it together rubber bands, and with the arrow pointing away from you. And you're just going to put this sheet of dragon scale off to the side for now. You're going to place them going from this first middle pin to the second middle pin. And you're just going to place a simple single chain with only 2 rubber bands instead of 1, going all the way down this middle pin bar on your loom. So because this is a more advanced project, I'm not going to be explaining how to make a single chain, because if you can make a dragon scale, you should be able to make a single chain. But it's kind of a double single because we have double rubber bands. But you're just going to go all the way down to the bottom of your loom, so the last middle pin. I'm not going to bother fast forwarding because, well, it's just a single chain and it's not that hard. Just placing rubber bands. Went all the way down. Alright, so as you can see here, I have placed a double single chain of rubber bands going all the way down this middle pin bar on my loom until I got to this last middle pin, and you should have as well. And now what you're going to do is you're going to turn your loom so that the arrow is pointing towards you, and you're going to get your sheet of dragon scale, and what you're going to do is you're going to attach your dragon scale sheet onto your loom so that you can loom this single chain and stitch the dragon scale sheet together. Now to do this, you're going to want to first transfer all the rubber bands on these 2 rubber bands that are sitting on your hook onto this first middle pin. So not this rubber band here that is on your hook, but the rubber bands on this rubber band on your hook. And you're going to transfer them onto this first middle pin. So they're going to act as a cap band. And to transfer these rubber bands, you're just going to take a couple at a time. So a couple of the layers. There you go. Then stick them, or just place them on this first middle pin. Then take a couple more layers, put them on this first middle pin. And the last layers, and put them on this middle pin as well. And once you have all of the layers that are on this rubber band on your hook on this first middle pin, you're going to just pull your hook through the rubber band that was on your hook, through that rubber band, and get rid of these 2 rubber bands that were sticking through all of these here. Now once you have these bands on this first middle pin, the only way to take them off is to get 2 of the holding it together rubber bands and kind of acting like you're taking these off, sticking your hook in and pulling them off that way. What you're going to do now is, once you have them on, is you're going to transfer the bands that are on the dragon scale onto these pins on your loom. And what you're going to do is, once you have these bands on this first middle pin, is you're going to find the first little hole where, or between, a first color rubber band and a second color rubber band. So this right here is right beneath the single chain, or the double single, and you're going to put it on this second middle pin. So let me grab it first. There we go. So you're going to put it on the second middle pin. Then you're going to grab the next little hole here, and you're going to put it on this third pin. Then the next little hole, you're going to put it on this fourth middle pin, sorry. And you're just going to continue putting the little holes on your dragon scale onto the next pin, going all the way down this middle pin bar. So even you're going to also put a little dragon scale hole on this last middle pin. Oh, and also use the pause button if you need to. Forgot to say that. Alright. There we go. Make sure these bands are on the pins. Alright, so as you can see here, I now have a dragon scale rubber band surrounding each middle pin. And now, once you've done that, you're going to do this same thing that you did on this side of the dragon scale on the other side of your little dragon scale. So you're going to come back to these first pins, so this first and second middle pin. The arrow should still be pointing towards you. Can't really see the arrow, but it's there. And you're just going to do the same thing on this side of the dragon scale. And you're going to put it on top of these dragon scale rubber bands that are already on the pins. And also the double single rubber bands that are on the pins. So you're going to find the first little hole here underneath of the double single, where there is a first color layer rubber bands and 2 second color rubber bands. So a little gap in between them on the end of the little sheet here. And you're going to put them on this first middle pin. So I'm going to transfer them on. Then this next little hole is going to go on the second middle pins. And this gets really difficult, so just bear with me if things start to go off camera and get crazy. Then this, oh goodness, this third little hole here, you're going to put it on the third middle pin. You're going to do this same thing over and over until you have another layer of dragon scale on all of the middle pins. So you're just going to keep getting the small little holes on the dragon scale cuff onto each pin in the middle row. So each middle pin. And I'm not going to fast forward this either, but use the pause button if you need to. And make sure you don't skip any of the holes, because then your dragon's or your pencil pouch is going to look kind of funny. But fortunately this step it's kind of easy. So going back and fixing this would be more annoying than horrible. I keep going off camera. Goodness. Alright. So now, as you can see, there are 2 layers of these first color bands of this dragon scale sheet on this middle pin bar. And now, once you have this, you are now going to loom the double single bands at the very bottom of all the pins. Now this is going to be very scary, like most of this project was and is. You're going to get your hook to begin looming, and the arrow needs to still be pointing towards you. And what you're going to do is on this first middle pin, which this is the most scary of them all. There we go. you're going to pull back all of the top rubber bands, all of them, and there should be about 8 of these on top, so that's why this is super scary. But don't push or pull them back too much because they will break. Just pull them back enough so that you can grab the bottom 2 bands. So I'm grabbing the bottom 2 bands. Oh, did a band just break? I hope not. Never mind, it's just my pin bar. And you're going to loom these 2 bands very slowly, very carefully, very patiently forwards to the second middle pin. If I can get them to wrap around the pin, come on, you can do it. There we go. Oh, Dragon Skill's trying to come off. So as you can see, I have loomed these 2 holding it together bands forwards to this second middle pin. And you're just going to loom this double single like a regular single chain. Just pulling back all the top rubber bands, grabbing the bottom 2 bands, and looming them forwards to the next pin, like so. And because there are quite a few bands, you'll need to pull back on a few pins. Just be very patient while looming. So I'm going to go ahead and fast forward myself looming this double single chain. Use the pause button if you need to. And I will see you once you have finished looming the double single, up until you get to this last middle pin. Oh, here we go. Okay, so as you can see here, I have finished looming my double single chain of rubber bands up until I got to this 13th, or well actually this last middle pin, and you should have as well. And once you have finished looming those, or this double single chain, you're going to turn your loom so, well, not really turn your loom, but have your loom so the arrow is still pointing towards you. And you're going to take all of the rubber bands on this middle pin bar off, except for the rubber bands on this last middle pin. So with your hook, you're going to start on this first middle pin, and kind of carefully pull all the rubber bands off of that pin, and all of the other pins on this middle pin bar, except for on this last middle pin. So I'm not going to bother fast forwarding this because this shouldn't take very long. Ooh, bands are trying to not come off. Ooh, and it looks like you can use your fingers. It looks pretty safe this way, but I'm going to go ahead and use my hook. Okay. Still pulling them off. And when you get to the second to last pin with rubber bands on it, you can put your finger on this last middle pin so that these rubber bands don't come off accidentally when you pull the other bands off. And now, as you can see here, there is a double single chain going through this sheet of dragon scale right now. And now it's kind of closing the pencil pouch up, so you can look inside and, ooh, look, it's starting to close. And there's this hole up here, and well, once you get to this right here, once you have the last rubber bands on this middle pin here, you're going to take your hook, stick it into this last middle pin, then get 2 holding it together rubber bands, put them in your hook's mouth like so, and pull your hook up through this 13th, oh goodness, no, this last middle pin. And these should be the only 2 bands on your hook. Then you're going to put the other 2 that you're holding with your fingers onto your hook as well. And then pull all the bands off of this last middle pin. And you should have something like this now. Now we're going to finish closing off this side of the dragon scale. Alright, so I don't know about you, but if you are making your pencil pouch, for your binder, then you should be nearing the what was I about to say? You're going to be nearing the little hole that is going to have the 4 binder rubber bands on it. And for me, it's going to be the 14th little section. So it's pretty much right here, because I have loomed 12 double single bands onto these dragon scale, or onto this dragon scale sheet, because it's only one. Anyway, now I'm going to go ahead and show you how to continue so you can finish this off. So to continue closing this little pencil pouch up, you're going to need your pencil pouch with these 2 rubber bands still on your hook, your loom, and some more holding it together rubber bands. And what we're going to do is we're going to do the exact same thing we did the first time. We're going to turn our loom so that the arrow is pointing away from us, and we're going to place another double single chain going down this middle pin bar on our loom. So you're going to go ahead and go all the way down, starting from this first middle pin, getting 2 rubber bands and placing them going forwards to this second middle pin. And you're just going to place another double single chain going down this middle pin bar. Alright, so as you can see here, I have placed another double single chain of rubber bands on my loom. And what you're going to do now is, once you have another double single chain on this middle pin bar as well, is you're going to turn your loom so that the arrow is pointing towards you now. And if you're going to be putting this, your pencil pouch on your binder, you're going to pull these two holding it together bands off of the 3rd middle pin, like that. And you're going to place 4 more binder rubber bands just sitting there on this 3rd middle pin. Then you're going to stretch these 2 holding it together bands forwards, so going back across this 2nd middle pin and this 3rd middle pin. If I can grab mine. There we go. Alright, had to get another hook and put those on, or put these back on. But once you get these 2 back on, and you just have these 4 rubber bands just sitting there, just let them sit there. Don't move them around or anything, just let them sit there. And now we're going to transfer these sheets, or this sheet of dragon scale, onto your loom again. And to do this, you're going to transfer first these bands that are on this rubber band on your hook. So just like you did the first time, you're going to transfer all the individual, or not the individual, but you're going to transfer all of the layers of rubber bands on these 2 rubber bands that are on your hook. And they're going to transfer them onto this 1st middle pin. And to do this, I'm going to go ahead and transfer them on like this. You're going to take a couple layers at a time, transfer them on to this 1st pin, middle pin of course. You're going to take a couple more, transfer them onto this 1st middle pin, and take a couple more, transfer them onto this 1st middle pin. Make sure you get them all, because that one looked like it was coming off. And then finally you get the last layers, and you transfer them on as well. Then you can slide your hook through this, or these bands that are sitting on it, so you can just slide your hook through them. Once you get all layers onto this first middle pin. Then you're going to take these 2 bands that were sitting on your hook out. And now all of the layers and all the rubber bands that were on these 2 rubber bands should now be on this first middle pin. And now we're going to transfer the sheets of dragon scale onto the pins by doing the same thing we did before. Finding the next little hole on the dragon scale on the side of the dragon scale sheet and bringing it up to the next middle pin. So this little hole here is going to go onto this second middle pin. Making sure I'm grabbing the right one. There you go. Then this next little hole here is going to go on this third middle pin. Then this next little hole is going to go on this fourth middle pin, and so on. So just going to continue placing these until you either get to the end of your loom, or until you get to the end of the sheet of dragon scale, because you might have enough pins on your loom this time to put the rest of your dragon scale sheet on. Okay, so it looks like this is the last little section here. So here's the last of this half of the dragon scale sheet. Now you gotta do the other half. Might want to hold down these bands so they do not come off this middle pin. I do believe these just stay here. Yes, these just stay on the pin. Okay. Just gonna go ahead and transfer all the little holes onto all the little pins. There we go. And now, as you can see here, I have 2 layers of the dragon scale sheet on this middle pin bar, and now it is time to loom this single chain. Alright, so to loom this double single chain again, you're going to start on this first middle pin. The arrow should still be pointing towards you. And you're going to pull back all the top rubber bands, and not pull them back way too much because they will break if you do that. And you're going to grab the bottom 2 bands, pull them off of the pin with your hook, and loom them forwards to the next middle pin. And this can be very scary with so many rubber bands on all of the pins. Just so crazy. But once you get these 2 holding it together bands forwards from this first middle pin to the second middle pin, you're just going to continue looming the double single chain until you get to the end of the dragon scale sheet. So, as you can see, there's these extra bands. You're just going to ignore them. You're just going to loom until you get to the last little part of the dragon scale. So you're not going to loom these 2 rubber bands yet. So I'm just going to go ahead and fast forward this. Use the pause button if you need to. Alright, now as you can see here, I have finished looming my double single chain, and I stopped here when I got to the last part of the dragon scale sheet that I transferred onto my loom, and I didn't loom these bands after. But if you do have extra rubber bands like I do here, you can actually loom the next two rubber bands in this double single chain by pulling back the top rubber bands, grabbing the bottom bands, looming them forwards. You can go ahead and loom these so it's easier, so that you don't have to take your hook and go into this pin and put rubber bands on it. You can instead just have them already on your loom. But anyway, once you have finished looming this double single chain, you're going to make sure that the arrow on your loom is still pointing towards you, and you're going to go ahead and just take all of the rubber bands off of this middle pin bar, except for the last rubber bands that you loomed, and all the rubber bands on that pin as well. So just use your hook or your fingers and just pull all the rubber bands off. And you can use your fingers because, well, it seems pretty safe to do that. Alright, now as you can see here, I have taken off all of the rubber bands on my loom, except for these two here, except for the last two that I loomed. And what you can do now is get your hook, stick it into this middle pin, and pull these two, or actually 4 layers of bands, off of this middle pin. Now once you have these on your hook, you're now going to do the same thing again, only now you're going to do it for the bottom of the dragon scale sheet. Alright, so now what you're going to do is you're going to do the same thing again. You're going to get some more holding it together bands, and you're going to place another double single chain going all the way down the middle pin bar on your loom. Make sure the arrow is pointing away from you. Alright, now as you can see here, I have finished placing another double single chain going down my middle pin bar, arrows pointing away. And now what we're going to do is we're going to turn our loom around so that the arrow is now pointing towards us. And we're going to transfer all of the rubber bands that are on this rubber band on your hook onto this first middle pin. So all of these bands on these 2 bands on your hook, just like you've done before. And to transfer these bands, you're just going to take the first couple layers, put them on the first middle pin, and then the rest of the layers, or the next couple layers, gonna put it on this middle pin as well. If I can just grab them. Alright, sorry about that. Just had to get those bands transferred. It was kind of difficult with the camera sitting in the way. But anyway, once you have those rubber bands transferred, you can pull your hook through the rubber bands that were on your hook, and then take the 2 rubber bands that were on your hook before off, and now you should have these rubber bands on this first middle pin. Now once you do, you're now going to connect or attach or transfer the bottom part of the dragon scale. And this is going to be a little different from before. You're going to look for the little spaces at the bottom. So wherever there is a first color band that is twisted like this, that is what you're going to pretty much wrap around the pin. So to transfer these rubber bands, you're going to find the next little X shape first color band. You're going to put it on the second middle pin. Then the next X first color band is going to go on the third middle pin. Then the next X color band, or the next X first color band, is going to go on the fourth pin. And so on. So pretty much the same as all the other times, except you're looking for the twisted rubber bands. And once you get about halfway through the dragon scale, or the sheet, you're now going to do the other half of the dragon scale. You're going to come back to the beginning. Find the next little crossed or X first color band and put it on the second middle pin. Then you're going to find the next X or crossed A first color band and put it on this third middle pin. Then this next crossed X crossed first color band, next pin, and the next one goes on the next pin. And then this is where it gets a little bit difficult. So here we still have the dragon scale, but you still need to transfer another 1 or 2 X's. So try to get them on there. It looks like I need to transfer looks like 2 more. It's a little difficult for me to see, so hold on, I'm going to go off camera. I'm going to cut the video. Alright, I've gone up as far as I can with my dragon scale. It looks like there is another little crossed first color band here. So if you have 1 or 2 more left, it doesn't matter. We'll be able to get those later. But once you have transferred all of the layers or rubber bands on this dragon scale sheet as you can, and keeping it even on all of the middle pins that you possibly can, you're going to go ahead and loom this double single chain through until you get to this last rubber band of the dragon scale cuff on a pin. So right here is where I'm going to stop, and where you're going to stop as well. And to loom this double single chain, you're going to pull back all the top rubber bands. Oop, try to get them all. Grab the bottom 2 rubber bands and loom them forwards to the next middle pin. Then again, you're going to pull back the top rubber bands, grab the bottom 2 bands, and loom them forwards to the next middle pin. And you're just going to go ahead and continue looming this double single chain. If I go too fast, just use the pause button. Not going to bother fast forwarding because this is really short. Right, use the pause button if you need to. And now, as you can see here, I have finished looming my double single chain up until I got to this last pin with dragon scale on it. And once you get here, you're going to loom these next 2 holding it together bands by pulling back the top rubber bands on this pin, then grabbing the bottom 2 and looming them forwards to the next middle pin. Then you can take all the rubber bands off of this middle pin bar except for the last two you loomed. So use your hook or your fingers, which my fingers is a lot easier for me. There we go. And as you can see here, I have now taken off all the rubber bands that I can, except for these two here, that were the last two I loomed. And to get rid of them, you're just going to take your hook, stick it through this middle pin, so you can catch all 4 layers of this rubber band you loomed last. And you can pull it off the pin. And now you just need to loom these last 2 little crosses / X's in the middle here. Alright. So to get this last little X or crossed first color band, which there's only one left, there should only be one left, what you're going to do is you're going to once again transfer all of the rubber bands that are on these 2 rubber bands that are on your hook onto now this first middle pin that has holding it together bands on it. So you're not going to place or transfer them onto this first middle pin, but this first middle pin with rubber bands on it. And the arrow should still be pointing towards you. So you're going to transfer these bands on these 2 rubber bands on your hook onto this middle pin. To do this, you're going to take a couple of layers at a time. I might fast forward, so just use the pause button if you need to. Alright, now as you can see here, I have transferred the bands that were on these 2 rubber bands on my hook onto this middle pin. And once you do that, you're going to slide your hook through these rubber bands that are on your hook. And then take these 2 rubber bands out. And now you're going to transfer or place the last X A color band, which if you can find it, well, you gotta find it first, of course, onto this next middle pin. This is going to take a little bit of time, so be very patient when doing this. You gotta find it and grab it and put it where it belongs. If I can keep the dragon scale from coming off my loom. So I'm probably going to fast forward this part as well. So just use the pause button if you need to, if I do. Alright, I have finally gotten that first color band onto this next middle pin, and because this is the last one, I do not need to transfer any more bands or do anything else other than loom this double single chain up until this pin here with the last part of dragon scale on it. So basically 1 rubber band. And to loom this, you're going to pull back the top rubber bands on this first middle pin, arrow pointing towards you. Grab the bottom 2 bands and loom them forwards to the next middle pin. Now as you can see here, I am already done looming, but we're going to go ahead and just loom these 2 holding it together bands that come after the dragon scale. So pull back the top bands again, grab the bottom 2 rubber bands, and loom them forwards to the next middle pin. And now you can go ahead and take all of the rubber bands off of your loom, except for these 2 here that you just loomed. So basically like that. Then you're going to get your hook and stick it through this middle pin with the 2 rubber bands you just loomed. And you're going to take them off the pin. And now you are done looming rubber bands for your pencil pouch. And now I'm going to show you how to finish off this double single chain that was used to close off your pencil pouch. Alright, so because you're not going to be looming anything else anymore on your loom for your pencil pouch, you can go ahead and take whatever rubber bands that are still on your loom off and put your loom away for now, and all those rubber bands. And what we're going to do is we're going to make these 2 rubber bands that are on your hook into a slip knot. And to do this, what you're going to do is you're going to grab the 2 little layers of these rubber bands farthest away from the actual hook part of your hook, so these 2 right here, and you're going to just pull them off of your hook and release. Then you're going to give the rubber bands, or the 2 little layers still on your hook, a tug, so you can tighten the slip knot. Tighten it as tight as you can tighten it. And then you can take the 2 layers that are on your hook off, once you believe you've made your slip knot tight enough. Finally, you can do one of 2 things with these 2 rubber bands. You can either A, use your hook and hide them inside of your little pencil pouch, or B, you can take some scissors and cut them off. But I would rather just hide them in my pencil pouch because I don't like cutting rubber bands. I just don't trust it. So what I'm going to do is, to hide these rubber bands, is you're going to slide them, or slide your hook actually, through this double single chain in this end of your dragon scale cuff, or dragon scale slip knot, or dragon scale pencil pouch. Then you're going to put these 2 bands that were your slip knot, or that are your slip knot, onto your hook and pull your hook back through. Be careful not to catch other rubber bands, because then, well, A, it's going to make it more difficult to pull these slip knot rubber bands through. It also, it's pretty difficult, annoying when they don't come through. So this is going to take a little while, just give me a few seconds. Give it another go. There we go. Try to tuck these away. Now this can kind of round, or make this end here a little more round and a little weird looking, but it hopefully shouldn't matter too much. If it does bother you too much, then just cut these rubber bands here off. Oh man, I gotta hide. Oh, just whatever. Just get rid of these 2 bands here, and well, now you have your pencil pouch. Alright, so once you have your pencil pouch, and you can finally put pencils or markers or pens inside and use it. And you can put it in your binder So let me grab my binder. So opening my binder. You can put your pencil pouch in your binder if you made your pencil pouch for your binder. Just open the rings. Put these rubber bands here on. And now you have your pencil pouch in your binder, if that's what you want. And I'm going to have mine in my binder soon, but not yet. And yeah. So now it's time for the outro. So I would like to thank you for watching my tutorial. Hopefully, and I'm actually serious about this, hopefully you were able to make this successfully without anything breaking. And if something did break, hopefully you were able to still continue, because you had maybe a backup. So yeah. So anyway, thanks for watching, and bye!